Hello, it is Friday the 20th of December and a lot of markets are in pretty nasty falls. It's very simplistic to put it down to what the Fed did this week about making less rate cuts next year. I actually think what's going on is a little bit more, unfortunately, a little bit more serious than that. And let's talk about why. I had always thought, Bitcoin rallied since the Trump election at the beginning of November. Bitcoin rallied 50%. Any market that rallies that much is liable to a little bit of a bigger pullback. And we've seen some really frothy stuff in the crypto markets, $1 billion for Fartcoin and ridiculous stuff, really frothy. And that always makes us a little bit vulnerable. One thing that I always talk about Bitcoin being correlated to the NASDAQ, but one thing the Bitcoin is really correlated to is global money supply. And we can see here, this white line is global money supply and the orange is Bitcoin. And you can see that they are pretty correlated. Global money supply since October has crashed and Bitcoin has not yet followed it. It's possible that it does, and that we see a pretty nasty pullback. And I have to say that if what's happening in Bitcoin pretty much is tame compared to some of what the pullbacks in some of the altcoins and some of the frothier markets, and that's true across the board. Gold is pretty stable sideways, like Bitcoin, but silver and other metals are taking a little bit of a bath today. But what's happening, in the currency market is extraordinary. The dollar is very stable, but other currencies are absolutely crashing. This is the Aussie dollar. This is what we have done since September in the Aussie dollar. But some of the developing markets, like the Brazilian central bank, have had to intervene 3 times this week. Once to fight inflation, once they hiked by a whole 1% in one day. They said it was shock and awe, and then the next day people were talking about them needing more. The Turkish lira is just ridiculous. This is a monthly chart. You can see end of COVID, this was trading, around 7 or 8 Turkish lira per dollar. Today it's 35 in 2 years. So there are some really extreme markets out there. This is the Chinese yuan. Remember, this is a controlled currency. And so there are some really nasty moves going on in the currency markets and broader stock markets, which I think could pull Bitcoin down. And as I said at the beginning of the month, this is a really good time, when I used to trade penny stocks. If you got a really big spike in something, it was a really good time to take some profit, because it would always pull back a little bit and you could buy some more when that happened. And that's certainly true of what's been going on. So when I put Bitcoin is relatively stable here. Sorry, I'm looking at ETH. Let's get the Bitcoin chart up. This is a monthly chart of Bitcoin. Remember, markets have 3 directions. They have up, down, and sideways, and Bitcoin's pretty good at going sideways. We did it this year. We did it, really for the first 6 months until the autumn, when we had this lovely 50% rally in Bitcoin. We were pretty good at going sideways, and we're kind of setting up a little bit of a period of that here. If we take a look at this monthly candles, let's face it, we're only 2/3 of the way through the month, but we've done this before, gone sideways. If we look at what we did, for example, in September 2023, we went from the lows down here, which were at 25, and we rallied up to this high here at 49. That's almost 100% rally from September to the high here that we made at the beginning of January in Bitcoin a year ago. 100% rally. And what did we do? We had a little bit of a pullback and we had a sideways monthly doji. Everybody thought the world was ending, and then we have carried on, obviously, and we have gone. I need to put this into here we go. we've gone parabolic since then. You know, we've gone another 100% since this sideways doji. So we need to keep some perspective with this pullback. The problem is that sometimes you get a monthly doji like this or like this one, and it's actually a bigger reversal. You don't know. So this is why I say we don't know if Bitcoin is going to keep going or not. We could argue that we have made 5 waves up from this low, and we could see a much bigger pullback to the bottom of wave 4, which would bring us, gosh, back to 50,000 in Bitcoin. That would be pretty ugly. I'm looking at this most recent swing, and so far at the moment, we are sitting on this 236 fib level from here. If that breaks, it's at 94,300. If that breaks, I tend to look at the whole big swing and say, where are we likely to pull back to? And that would bring us back to this bigger 236 fib. And we would swing this bigger 236 fib of this big swing at 86,374. Now, that level's pretty interesting for a number of reasons. Now, I have always looked at this as 5 waves up here. But what if it, as you know, I'm a zigzag girl, right? I'm always looking for the measured swings. What if this wasn't a big 5 waves, but a big kind of, because, you know, a lot of commodities don't make, they just make 3 waves, not 5 wave rally. If I measure from the low in November 2022 to the high that we made here in March 2024, project it from there, look at that. We just turned 107,500 is the equal measured move. And if we look at our high, our high was 108,000. So we literally, in fact, if we go to the daily, we literally just tagged this level and reversed. Well, you know, the fib rules I have when we do this equal measured move, we could pull all the way back to the 61.8 level, but on a back test, this is where this swing would be 61.8 of the first swing. So this also becomes our support for that reason. So 86, 85, 86 zone is where if we get a bigger pullback, and if we lose that initial 236 fib that we're looking at, this is where, based on this being a big 3-wave measured move. Somebody mean said to me at the beginning of the week on Twitter that I've been bearish since 75,000. I haven't been bearish since 75,000, but I have been bearish since about 90,000 because I thought everything was getting a little bit frothy, and it was December, and the options positioning was suggesting to me that we might get stuck and go a little bit sideways with some big resistance levels. And to be honest, since then, this is the beginning of December, this is what we've done. It's been really nasty, choppy sideways, and you don't want to get chopped up because this, you know, if we get this pullback out of the way before the beginning of January, I think that we are going to get a really good trend. I don't know which direction it'll be, and it might be lower. You know, we could be making one of those sideways months that sets us up for a bearish reversal or a bullish reversal. But if you pay yourself, get out of the way, have a clear head, then you're in a really good position to trade it whichever way it goes. Now, if you're a long-term hodler of Bitcoin and you've been buying it for years, should you be worried by this little monthly doji candle? Of course you shouldn't. But if you are a shorter term swing trader or a swing trader like me, you know, this little up move is done. We're either going to go sideways for a bit before we continue, or we might have a little bit of a bigger pullback here. And if this escalates, I'm looking for 86, 85,000 as the place where I want to leave some bids for at least, you know, the first time back to a big 236 fib level, you always get a bit of a decent bounce. So that's where I'm going to be looking for now. Now, that's going to upset a few people that obviously have been long more recently than that, and that may not be very good either for some of these alts. I think it's all right to hide out in some of the, you know, big stuff like Bitcoin and maybe Ethereum. But I have to say, Ethereum for me is a little bit of a twisted sister compared to Bitcoin, and can fall harder. If we take a look at where we are in ETH. So far already, let's put the monthly candle on for ETH. This is already not looking like a doji at all, but a pretty nasty double top rejection. So really, you know, you hide out in a stable coin or you hide out in the dollar whilst this is playing out, and next week could get a little funky. The thing about these shakeouts like this is if you're short-term trading, you can get some really nice moves, but if you're a swing trader or you're an investor, this is not much fun, and December is not shaping out as much fun. And what I'm a little bit worried about is that some of these moves in stock indexes. Now, one thing we've always said was I thought that stocks would hold up into year end and that it wouldn't drag the crypto market down. And we are, with what the Fed has done, we are seeing a bit of a nastier move. So if I look at where we are in the S&P, this is the E-mini S&P for charting because you don't have any gaps or less gaps, and we have lost the daily 50 moving average, which was really good support on the nasty big three-wave pullback that we had in November. When you lose the daily 50, you normally see follow through and a bit of a sharp move lower, and that's kind of where we are. And that says to me that this choppy overlapping move that we've made since August, let's put this is our big 5-wave swing. At the moment, we are trading underneath this 236 fib in the overnight trading. This, which is the level for me, was key support here, 5,900. That does point to a bigger pullback and towards this 38.2 and towards 5,700 next. If we zoom out, you know, if you lose those 236 fibs, I always look at where is the biggest swing. And the biggest swing in this S&P comes all the way back to 2022, which means 5,500. So if we said 5,700 next from here, that's that kind of zone. That's where our support zone is, and this previous swing low. So this is to me that this has further to fall in these stock indexes to where the first place that you're going to be looking for support and maybe a bit of a Santa rally. And if we lose this, 5,500. Yeah, I know. It's not going to be fun. But I kind of feel like these markets went a little bit too far, too fast, you know. Let's see. So we've lost this. This is where the next support is, 5,700 and potentially 5,500, and the daily 200 moving average in this S&P. That is tend to be where you go when you lose the daily 50. We've not lost the daily 50 yet in the NASDAQ, but we're about to test it. Let's take a look. And this swing low here, again, this whole, we'll go from the low in August first for where our support is. We've just lost this 236 fib. Potentially we come back to 20,500 in this. So we are having a little bit of a nasty shakeout. It's really started and these global currency markets are, it's, you know, this is not just a United States or Europe thing. This is kind of pretty much everywhere a little bit of a shakeout, and we had got pretty frothy. So let's talk about what these, if you're in a bigger altcoin, they really are underperforming Bitcoin at the moment. I think if you want to be in a long-term swing, you might want to think about, if you're a hodler and investing, I don't think there's any harm in selling some and buying it back lower. You know, let's take a look at some of these bigger alts, for example, Doge. When we look at where we are in Doge, this has been a really nasty shakeout. Now, when you consider this is the rally, and this is the election candle here. We are pulling back. We are only pulling back to test where we were at the beginning of November, and so I don't think the world is ending. But I had kind of been thinking from this low here that we were in a 1, 2, 3. We still had one more swing higher. I think we maybe had it with this false breakout high here, which means that this whole swing is complete. And if this whole swing is complete, unfortunately, we need to come back towards these moving averages and make a base. And this could take a little bit of time. And so if we get a bounce, which, you know, you never fall in a straight line without a bounce, I don't think it's a bad idea if you're holding a lot to sell some and buy it back lower. The macro situation for crypto in the United States going forward with the new Trump administration is really positive. But that doesn't mean we couldn't have a really nasty shakeout before that sets up. So take some profit, be ready, because unfortunately, the way everything is setting up, I think we could have a little bit of a nasty shakeout before we get any go at a Santa rally. And if you didn't like it and we do get a little bit of a Santa rally, maybe take some profit then. If there is a particular chart that you'd like me to look at and have a look at the levels, send me a message and let me know. And